What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle with Ocean State Merchants. I'm back with another video for you guys. So kind of trying to do a little bit more vlog style. This is just going to be kind of like a scenario I ran into, a little bit awkward, and show you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly of reselling. This one I put more on the bad and ugly side of reselling, especially if you are into storage units and buying storage units, or if you're thinking about it. These are things that come up and that you have to think of. Not super often. I think this is about my 12th storage unit. It's the first time I've really ever run into this issue. But I buy and sell storage units as a way to make extra money. So you buy abandoned storage units, flip all the contents for hopefully a profit. My yard selling this year was pretty bad. I was a full-time bank manager and I quit my job back in April of 2024 to allow myself some more time with my kids. My kids are getting older, started doing weekend sports. So they both did soccer this year. My son did baseball. He did t-ball for the first time. So we had a pretty busy summer with sports, and then we actually got a lot of rain on the weekends in the beginning, which really stunk. So my yard selling this year was pretty dismal for my business. Obviously, it's a great way to go get inventory and some better items at cheaper prices. So I've been really trying to focus more on the storage units. I bought a trailer for it, so I haven't used the trailer once, and it was actually for this unit. It was the first time I've actually used it. But saw this unit coming up. Had 3 items, a drone, possibly a drone in there. There was a case in there. I didn't know what it was. I Googled the logo or the company name and found out it was a drone company, and they seemed like they should go for about $300 to $600. There was a golf bag in there with a white kind of matte finish to it. It looked like a tailor-made burner, which is a good golf club. And I thought if that's in there, the rest of the bag might be good. And then there's a pen fishing reel. Close-up of it, pictured, you could see the model. Looked up the model, would be about $60 used. So I figured it was worth it. Also, if it's a $60 fishing reel, might be other fishing gear in there. I could see a tackle box. So I was excited to kind of get this. I didn't want to go more than $130, put a max bid of $130, and end up getting this unit for $70. My daughter, the day before this, actually just had surgery. So my mother-in-law was over the next day, just playing with her, giving me some time to work a little bit. And the unit closed, and she was still there. So I decided it was a good time to run and go grab this unit and take ownership of it. I did that, and when I got there, the owner of the facility essentially told me that the owner of the unit had all the paperwork filled out. They were supposed to come before the storage unit closed, the auction closed, and they were going to buy all their stuff back. I felt a little awkward at this point, and I offered to cancel my bid, and they would just refund me the money, and this person can get what they want. But they essentially said, the person's not here. They were supposed to be here. Obviously, there's been some issues with payment before. At this point, they just want to get out of the unit, it seemed like. So they just wanted to go through the process with me at that point. I wish I pushed back a little bit more on this because I think it would have saved a little bit of a headache for everyone involved. But I just said, okay, we went through the process. I grabbed the stuff that I was interested in that day. The golf clubs, the pen, fishing reel, the drone case, and there was actually a second drone case below that, so that was awesome. Grabbed some of the tackle boxes. Essentially, everything was nothing. So the pen fishing reel was not in the box, it was empty. The golf club was a knockoff of the TaylorMade, and the rest of the clubs are pretty much garbage. The 2 drones were actually in there, so that's the win here. Grabbed a couple of totes, grabbed the fishing tackle boxes. One was empty, the other one was filled with just tools, very basic, screwdriver, pliers, basic tools in there. And then grabbed 2 totes that had some clothing in it. So got home, my daughter took a nap. I started to go through some of the stuff. I kind of got the drones set up, charging, all that stuff. Then I started going through the clothing, and there was a couple of good pieces of clothing. There's some glow gear in there, 7 jackets. Those are those big neon jackets people wear outside, tow truck drivers or snowplow people. It seemed like he may have plowed. So I think that's why he had them, but he had 7 of them. I figured $15 a piece on that. The Carhartt stuff I listed. There's 3 Carhartt jackets. Those are going to get up to $160 on, hopefully, was what I was listing it for. They were all in great condition. The glow stuff was a little bit beat up, but usually people that are buying that stuff don't really care. Overall, not too bad. There's a ton of shoes. There are on clouds. There's nicer Sperry boat shoes. Nothing super groundbreaking. There was nice Sorel winter boots, but a couple $100 in shoes. So I was excited for that. The on clouds are pretty bald. I probably would have just tossed those. I didn't really look at them too much. But overall, not too bad with the gear. Later on that afternoon, I got a phone call from the storage manager, and she told me that the person was there looking to buy their stuff back. It was like 4 hours after the unit ended, so I asked them essentially what he wanted, like what was he looking for? Because obviously now I can't get my money back. I don't necessarily want to go clean out someone's storage unit for them and pay for their stuff. So they told me all he wanted was the clothes back, didn't care about anything else, just the clothing. And I was like, okay, great. A lot of it is like work stuff. All that stuff I was willing to give up. The 3 car jackets, I still wanted to keep and resell. I looked at the drones. I didn't know if they were still going to be working or not. Worst case scenario, I think I would have gotten like $500 from those, which I got the unit for $70. But walking away with after fees and I'm going to have to do a dump run. Walking away with like $400 to $300, not really what I'm looking to do. Want to at least be above 500 at my minimum, and that's like considered like a bad unit for me in profit. So I told them like essentially I wanted to keep the three jackets, and that kind of gets me to that point of where I want to be. And she asked, well, would you sell everything? And I said, well, or sell all the clothing. I was like, I would give most of it for free. Like literally, I'm going to keep 3 jackets. They're worth $160, and that was before I realized that they also wanted the shoes. I was like, it's worth like $160. She said, well, we started talking a little bit, and then I realized that she was also talking about the shoes. I was like, oh, I didn't go through the shoes. I'm like, I don't know, but whatever. I'll still do $160. I'll give them all the shoes. She said, how about $200 for everything? I was like, fine. Even $200, I'll probably lose a little bit of money in value, but whatever. Right thing to do. Life's great. So she gave me his phone number and told me I had to contact him, which I wasn't super thrilled about. I don't want to meet this person. I don't want to, give him my phone number. I do know there's apps you can use to like change your phone number the way it comes in. My cousin's a cop. It's a free app he used once and called myself for my own phone number. So I know stuff like that's possible, but I just didn't really feel like we need to get into such an extreme thing where we have to start doing that kind of stuff. And then if they would need to call me back to like schedule a time, like it just didn't seem logical. In my head, in Rhode Island, we bring back all the documents. So like tax documents, pictures, any kids' artwork, anything like that, I always bring back to the storage facility, and then they can contact the owner of the stuff and they give it back to them. So I wanted to just go give them all the clothing, and if there were any personal items, bring all that stuff back, and then they can just deal with it. When they offered the $200, it got to the point where I was like, oh, can you guys grab the cash? And then at some point I'll come in and grab the cash and we'll do it that way. They said no, because they don't want to do that kind of transaction. But there was also the district executive of this storage facility was there, and apparently the guy had a really good sob story, and they wanted to make sure he got that. So they agreed to do the cash transaction. So we ultimately, that's what we agreed upon. My daughter the next day ended up getting kicked out of school. I went to the storage facility. I started cleaning it out, and I had the idea that I was going to, at the opening of the storage facility, give them back all the clothes that we had. I knew there was a couple more pieces in the storage facility that I was just going to throw into the totes. So I was going to give them all the clothes, and then grab my deposit, and later on, once everything was all said and done, get my stuff and go from there. My daughter ended up getting sick. From the medicine she took from the surgery, she ended up having to go home early, which made it so that I left early to go put my trailer back and then go get my daughter and then go back. And I hung out with her for the day. So didn't really think much of it. Storage unit was emptied. And then halfway through the day, I got a phone call from the owner or the facility manager, essentially asking if I was going to bring the clothes by. I said, yeah, I'm gonna bring it by at some point today. My daughter got home sick. Just haven't had a chance. I don't feel like bringing her out after surgery, and she's obviously not feeling well. I don't feel like bringing her to a storage facility, even if it is just for a quick minute for me to go bring some clothes back. Wait till my wife gets home, go pick up my son with her, and then we were all gonna go and just drop it off. She said, great, see you there. When I dropped it off, she had told me that the owner of the items, the original owner of the facility, was there that day waiting for me for about 45 minutes in the office. They eventually kicked them out, and then they sat in the parking lot for about 2 hours, just waiting for me to eventually show up. So I'm very glad that I wasn't there for that. that's kind of why I didn't want to get involved in a phone call, and I wanted to kind of separate myself from this. And then it turned out that as I was talking to the owner of the facility, he also found there's a cutting board that him and his grandfather made that he wanted back. Supposedly some tax documents, which originally I didn't see, but I ended up finding and bringing back. And then he had offered to buy the whole storage unit back. So at this point, like, everything's just weird. I didn't really want to get too involved in this. I just said the close is like where I want to be at. I'll bring back the cutting board, and I'll really dig for the tax documents and see if I can find them. But left it at that, left everything there. They were going to contact him on the weekend, on Saturday, and he was going to pick it up. So Saturday happened, a busy day for me, didn't really pay much attention, didn't notice anything. Monday, still no phone call from the storage facility. Tuesday, no phone call from the storage facility. I thought that was a little weird. So today is Wednesday. I went back to the storage facility because I had actually finally located the tax documents. I'd done some digging, didn't find them, and I had the cutting board. Went to the storage facility to go drop that stuff off, and it wasn't the normal facility manager. Someone else was there, but it sounded like it was a little bit of a nightmare of the pickup with clothing, and I asked the dread question, so any chance they left some cash behind, and they pretty much just laughed at me and said, absolutely not. So he agreed to leave the cash, didn't. It is what it is. I told them originally, like, if it gets crazy and for some reason it becomes a fight, then just give them the clothes, and it is what it is. I'll take the loss. Overall, I'm glad that I listened to my instincts and avoided the whole situation. But definitely a little bit of a wild one here. I did leave the cutting board behind, and I did obviously give the tax stuff because that you have to, and I don't want to be ever accused of like identity theft or something weird happening. So give all that stuff back. But definitely an interesting scenario. I don't know. I was at a loss of words on that one. I understand, and as a bank manager for a while, I understand the difficulty that some people go through. But to agree to the sale and then not, I wish I just kept to my guns and just gave the stuff I wanted for free and didn't try to do any sort of money. Going forward, I'll avoid that kind of scenario. But definitely a little bit of a new one for me. But it's something that you kind of run into with these storage facilities. You see all these videos of like how great it is, how much money you make, but you run into these other issues where you never know what's exactly happening. I do list a lot of stuff on Facebook Marketplace, especially like the furniture. And I've always wondered that, like, if someone notices the furniture and then contacts me and says, hey, this is my stuff, like, would you ever run into an issue? In this case, it sounds like if I ever ran into the person, it might be an issue, and I hope to God it isn't. I do have a couch that I planned on flipping. It did have a couple, like, holes in it, like cat marks. I'm not sure exactly what it was. So I was going to essentially create a free listing, and someone could come pick it up for free. But at this point, I'm just going to bring it to the dump and pay to dump it. It's also a little coffee table I was going to probably get $20 for. I'm going to dump that one as well. So in the end, I'll lose $20 and have to probably pay another $10 to dump things. But I don't want to put any of their stuff up on Facebook Marketplace and happen to have them see my profile and, get into any sort of altercation that way. Overall, a little bit of a wild one here. Let me know what you guys think. If you can like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff greatly helps me out. I'll catch you on the next one.